I'm sorry, Mr. Edward, I think you need a fucking reality check. Hey, what's up you guys, it's me Luke, and welcome back to another video, or if you're new here, welcome to my channel. If you're new here, I post commentary, critique, reaction videos, and basically anything on the internet that interests me, ranging from pop culture to internet culture and anything in between. And now I'm doing a movie reaction series to the Twilight Saga. Except this one's a little bit different. It's not so much a reaction, it's more so recapping what happened in the movie and picking up on things that I didn't really realize watching it younger, maybe some things that are problematic or cringy or interesting. New Moon came out 13 years ago, and obviously we look through things with a very different lens now. So this is going to be a really fun video, so I highly recommend you stick around till the end because that's when it gets real juicy. But without further ado, let's get into it because I'm about to dive in. Twilight Saga New Moon. Okay, so obviously you may have noticed I am giving more of like a darker gothic look, and that is because New Moon is kind of, in my mind, the depression movie. Even though I don't really like New Moon because we spend a lot of the time with Jacob instead of Edward, it's actually a very important movie in the series as it introduces us to a much bigger scale of the world than we know in Twilight. It introduces us to the werewolves and the Volturi and more vampirical powers, and really sets up what is going to be taking place in the later movies. So I think it's an important movie. Anyway, let's just get into it. So the movie starts off with Bella running through a crowd of people in red capes, and then she runs through them and enters a forest. In the forest across the field, she sees a old lady whom she thinks is her grandmother. Then Edward, out of the corner of her eye, starts coming out of the woodworks, and he is sparkling in all his glory, and she says, "Edward, no, she'll see you." But then he comes anyway, and she goes to introduce him to her grandmother, but then she notices that the grandmother is imitating everything that she is doing. She puts her finger up towards her, and so does the grandmother, and then it meets in the middle at a mirror, and we zoom out and see that Edward says, "Happy birthday, Bella," to this grandmother, who is in fact Bella, and Bella wakes up and it's all just a nightmare. First of all, how camp is the scene? But yeah, this is kind of setting up the theme of Bella throughout this movie, thinking that she's getting too old, because we find out through Charlie giving her a present that it is her 18th birthday, and she is not happy about it. She says, "I thought we weren't doing gifts," but he gets her a little camera along with the mother's scrapbook, and then he makes a joke about her having a gray hair. She freaks out and looks in the mirror as if she would actually have one at 18. So Edward and Bella meet up at high school, and he wishes her happy birthday, and even though she's uncomfortable, he does say that her birth is something to celebrate. She's all like, "But my aging isn't," and he's like, "I don't think there's something you have to worry about at 18, and she's all, "That's 1 year older than you," and he's like, "I'm 109, and she's all, "I don't think you should be dating such an old man, it's kind of gross." I guess it is, but also not, because Stephanie does talk about how the vampires kind of freeze at which the age they were turned, which makes sense because like everything is kind of frozen in time. And then Jacob shows up at the high school to wish Bella happy birthday. She notices how he's gotten a lot bigger. Bella's all like, "Hello, biceps. You know, anabolic steroids are not good for you, Jacob." And he's all like, "I'm just filling out, Bella. It wouldn't be as drastic if you saw me more often." And then he gives her a little dream catcher, which I have a gripe with this dream catcher because it doesn't fucking work. We will get into it as this movie gets on, but fuck this dream catcher. Edward gets a little jelly and is like, "How come Jacob Black gets to give you a gift, but I don't?" And she's like, "Because I have nothing to give you back." And he just says, "Bella, you give me everything by breathing." So creepy. So then Alice comes in doing some wicked parkour and wishes Bella happy birthday. Once again, Bella is annoyed about it. Alice gives Bella a gift and tells her she's gonna wear it tonight at their place. So they're having a little b-day for her, and Bella's reluctant, but then she eventually agrees and says to Jasper, "No fair with the mood control thing," because he is adjusting her mood to be able to want to go. Now, this is interesting to me because there was no prior mention of Jasper having a mood power in Twilight, but now they introduce it here, but they don't talk about it that often. They mention it in Eclipse, but it's not a power that they delve into, which I don't understand why, because I think it's such a cool power. Something else I don't understand is how come it can affect Bella when Bella can't be affected by other people's powers. Seems like a bit of a plot hole, but I digress. So then Bella and Edward are in class watching Romeo and Juliet, and Edward's being weird, saying that he envies Romeo, and Bella says this line that I think is so funny. She says, "Juliet is like perfect, if you like that obviously beautiful sort of thing," which is so stupid to me because like Bella is obviously beautiful, but she's not like other girls. She doesn't realize her beauty. And Edward's all, "Not the girl, the suicide." Okay, this movie, y'all, we're getting into it. It is dark. He says it's nearly impossible and then cuts himself off, but we know he's talking about vampire death. But he says, "For human, a little poison, a dagger to the heart." There's so many different options, which this scene to me added to the Edward creepy factor. But then he tells us it is because he had to consider it if he didn't get to Bella in time and James killed her. Bella asked him what the plan was, and he said he was going to go to Italy and provoke the Volturi, which is the first we are hearing of them. him. So then he tells Bella about the Volturi, and he says that they're the closest thing to royalty that their world has. And we find out that Carlisle actually used to be a part of the Volturi for a couple decades. And he says that the Volturi have no respect for human life, but respect for the arts, the sciences, and the law. And while this is all happening, there's this really cool, like, painting that the camera zooms in on, and the vampires are moving in the painting, which I thought was cool. It kind of reminded me of Harry Potter. Edward says they don't have many laws, and only one that's regularly enforced, and it's that they keep their existence of their kind a secret and don't make spectacles of themselves, and that they don't kill conspicuously. Unless, of course, you want to die. And then one of the Volturi members rips off this vampire's head, and this is where we kind of get to have a bit more of an insight into a vampire death, because in Twilight with James, it was kind of off in the distance. We didn't get to see it close up, but here we see them rip off the guy's head, rip off his arms, and we don't see any blood. It sounds like ice or concrete breaking. I don't even know how to describe the sound. The vampires in Twilight, their bodies, whatever they're made up of, it's fucking weird. Like, they sparkle, they're made of ice. It's very camp. And then Edward starts talking about how the only thing that can hurt him is Bella. Very dramatic, but I guess this whole universe revolves around her. And Bella says that's not true, Victoria. Edward says she'll come for him one day, but Alice will see when the time comes, and they'll be ready. And then Bella's like, I can protect you if you change me. Which, like, the whole change me narrative throughout this entire movie, a little bit in Eclipse, but mainly in New Moon, so irritating. She brings it up so many fucking times. Like, bitch, just wait. Like, clearly, if he was gonna do it, he would have done it by now. I don't think you pestering him about it is gonna make a difference. Edward says that Bella is his only reason to stay alive. That's what he even is. Which is interesting, because what were you doing for those 107 years when you weren't with Bella? What was your reason for living then? So then Alice comes and takes him to the little party, which, by the way, this party is ridiculous. There's a bajillion candles there, which is a massive fire hazard, which I think is interesting considering fire is the only thing that can kill vampires in this world. There's a bunch of flowers everywhere. It's very camp. So Alice takes a photo of Bella and Edward with the camera that she took out of Bella's bag. And normally stealing is wrong, but with Alice, it's kind of quirky. Rosalie literally tells Bella what she got her before she even opens it and tells her that Alice picked it out. Such a bitch. Emmett's all like, dating an older woman. Hot. I feel like they don't develop Emmett's character. He's giving frat boy vibes. And then Emmett gives Bella her gift, but it's an empty box because it's a stereo that he installed in her truck without asking for her permission. I just think it's funny that Alice went through Bella's bag and Emmett broke into her truck. Maybe when you're a vampire, you just like forget basic standards. So then Bella's opening up her gift from Carla and Esme, which is a plane ticket trip somewhere, and she gets a paper cut, and this is where it all happens. Dramatically, the blood falls to the carpet. Edward looks at Jasper, and Jasper loses it. They're all trying to hold him back because he's the newest vegetarian and he gets a smell of that blood. So then Edward, for some reason beknownst to me that I will never understand, pushes Bella into the wall where there is about 6 different vases of glass. They break, shatter, and slice open her arm. And the problem is even worse. I don't understand why he couldn't have like pushed her to the side or grabbed her and moved her or just not pushed her at all. Honestly, it was ridiculous. He just made the issue worse, and I always thought that was fucking stupid, even when I was like 9 years old. So then Edward like pushes Jasper back. One thing I don't love about these vamps is they don't have fangs, so he's just like growling with his regular teeth, and I don't find it scary. He kind of just looks like a patient from like the asylum in American Horror Story. Just saying. So then they all realize that Bella's bleeding a lot worse, and all the Cullens stare at her, and majority of them can't deal with the blood, so they walk away. But the one person who can is Carlisle. One thing I will mention is Alice stayed until she very much could not, because she wanted to like be there for Bella, but she just couldn't because of the blood. But I like that she stayed till the end. There is like this whole separate sector of people like shipping Alice with Bella, which I think is actually kind of cute and cool, and like Loki in another world, I would love that. Carlisle's just talking about how Jasper hasn't been near human blood in a while, which one thing I don't understand is like the fact that he goes to high school. When I went to high school, people were getting injured and cut and hurt all the time, so there was blood quite often. So I don't understand why high school would be a safe place for him when there's pretty much humans everywhere and he's super prone to an accident. But you know what? Logic clearly wasn't on Stephenie Meyer's mind at the time. So Carlisle talks about how he chose to live a different life as a vampire, wanting to help people, even if he is damned regardless. And then Bella's all like, is that why Edward won't change me? And Carlisle says, if you believed as Edward did, would you take away his soul? And then we get this like weird soul thing that is kind of a running thing throughout this movie. What the fuck is a soul? Like, is it who you are? Because like I thought that was like your personality, but I guess your personality is just like your traits, and then you have your memories, and then maybe like a soul is accumulation of everything that makes you who you are. So they're in Bella's pickup truck. Bella's all like, you can't protect me from everything. At some point something's gonna separate us. It's gonna be an accident or illness as long as I'm human, and the only solution is to change me. That's our second change me. So let's just keep keep that in mind. He says it's not a solution, but a tragedy. Edward, what's the plan? Okay, because she is going to age. Are you just planning to, like, be with her while she ages and then dies as a human? Because that's not going to make sense. Do you think that you're honestly still going to be attracted to her when she's a 60-year-old woman? Do not lie, Edward, because you may be attracted to her personality, but I don't know what's going on here that you're still going to be into, because you're locked in the brain of a 17-year-old. Not to mention the fact that you have to move every couple years because you're a vampire and you don't want people to notice, so she would still have to come with you. You're still disrupting her life. Also, what do you think people are going to think? Society is going to talk about the 17-year-old boy with a 60-year-old woman. There's no logic behind any of this with Edward. And what are you going to do when she dies? You're going to die too? Like, there's no logic. It's just the only solution is to change her, Edward. Get your shit together. And Bella says it too. She says, you're not going to want me when I look like a grandmother. And then he says, Bella, do you not understand my feelings for you at all? She says, Carlisle told me how you feel about your soul. I don't believe that. So don't worry about mine. I don't know, I always thought that was like so weird. So she's saying she doesn't believe in souls, or she doesn't believe that you lose a soul. I think it's the second option, but it's just a weird couple of lines. Sometimes these movies are like too serious for their own good. It's just like very melodramatic. So she says how it's her birthday and she only asks for one last thing, and that's for him to kiss her. Now this kiss is like difficult to watch. Edward is like gasping, Bella is like moaning. It looks painful. So maybe he still hasn't got over the scent of her blood, because they really don't kiss that often. And they don't have sex either. So very like physically just not there. So I'm really hoping that Bella's love language is not physical touch, because she ain't getting any. So the Cullens don't show up to school the next day, and when Bella gets home from school, Edward is there waiting for her and says that they need to talk in the forest. Edward says they need to leave Forks because Carlisle is supposed to look 10 years older than he is, which confuses me because in Twilight it was mentioned that they had recently moved to Forks from Alaska. So had they already been in Forks for 10 years? Because that's not recently. Like, why wouldn't you have just said that Carlisle's older than he is? I don't know. It's obviously a bullshit excuse, though. Bella kind of assumes that she's going to be going with and says that she needs to think of something to say to Charlie. And then she sees the look on Edward's face and realizes something's off. And she says, when you say we, he's all like, I mean my family and myself. And she realizes that it's about the Jasper thing and says that it's nothing, it's not a big deal. And he says, yeah, it is nothing. Nothing compared to what could have happened. And then he says something so fucked up. He says, you just don't belong in my world, Bella. Then why did you bring her in your world? And you can't just get someone to fall in love with you and be like, you know what, this isn't gonna work. Like, you don't belong in my world. Like, you should have thought of that earlier before, you know, she almost died. Bella's like, I belong with you. And he says, no, you don't. This scene is fucking heartbreaking. She insists that she's coming, and he says, I don't want you to come. Bella focuses on the beginning of that and says, you don't want me? And he says, no. He is literally just taking a fucking knife, shoving it into her, and then twisting it with everything he says. God, he is so mean in this scene. I was so pissed at him. Really, to put the cherry on top of the cake, he says, but if it's not too much to ask, don't do anything reckless. Oh yeah, because she's the one doing reckless stuff that's getting her injured and getting her almost killed. It's not because of you, right? Let's rethink this. She goes to a baseball game with you, even though you knew that there were other vampires in the area. You take her there knowing how strong the smell of her blood is, where there are only other vampires, no other humans, so of course she's gonna stick out. And those other bad vampires don't hang around humans, they fucking eat humans. You put her in that situation, she almost died because of you, and you're saying that she's the one doing shit that's reckless? I'm sorry, Mr. Edward, I think you need a fucking reality check. And then he tells Bella that she'll never see him again, he won't come back, she can go on with her life like he never existed. Look, I understand Edward was worried for Bella's safety after what happened with his family. Actually, no, I don't. Because you still continue to be around with her after what happened in Twilight, and that was way more fucked up than this. You know your family's not gonna hurt her. You know who is gonna hurt her? The vampires that are here who want revenge because of what you did in the first movie that she no longer has protection from because all of you decided to fuck off. I don't understand the logic here. And also, could he have not chosen a nicer way to break up with her? It was literally so fucking rude and painful. And you put her into a deep depression, whereas maybe if you did it in a different way and were actually honest with her and explained it. I don't know though, because I feel like if he was trying to be that way, then she wouldn't have accepted it and she would have just gone. I feel like he had to do this so she would like let him go. And then she says, if this is about my soul, take it. I don't want it without you. Once we come back to that soul stuff, a bit melodramatic for me, and I'm a very dramatic person. And then he says, you're just not good for me. I'm sorry. Mr. Edward, you're just not good for her. It's you, not her. The fact that he tried to like gaslight this shit onto her, why is she not good for him? What does she do that's wrong? Besides the fact that she has human blood that he thirsts for, which has nothing to do with her. Did not expect to get this passionate, but this breakup scene pisses me off beyond belief. It's the most painful scene in the whole series, really. He says he's sorry it went on for so long and then gives her a kiss on the forehead. and leaves. I mean, I guess you don't make out with someone when you break up with them, but still, it's kind of fucked. And then he leaves and Bella starts wandering around in the forest for him, which like doesn't make sense because he's a vampire, he's sped off. Like, you're not gonna find him. But I think obviously when you're in those deep emotions, you're not really thinking logically, and she ends up wandering in the forest for hours looking for him until it gets dark, and then she just lays on the ground and crumbles because she doesn't really know what else to do with herself. She is in so much pain that she just falls asleep in the fucking forest. That's honestly so fucking sad. Like, she doesn't even know what to do, so she just goes to sleep. So there's a search party out for her, but she ends up getting found by Sam. And then after that, we get the depression scene where Bella is sitting on a chair, the camera is swirling around her, the seasons are changing in her window, and we see a couple months roll by, so we can clearly tell that time is just moving and she's kind of staying frozen. In this movie, in order to convey Bella's inner dialogue that would have happened in the book just through simple writing, because the book was told from her perspective, the screenwriter decided to go ahead and make her write emails to Alice, which I think is actually so beautiful because, like, you know, Alice and Bella stuff. She sends Alice an email that says, "Dear Alice, you disappeared like everything else. Who else can I talk to? I'm lost, Alice. When you left and he left, you took everything with you. But the absence of him is everywhere I look." And this line fucks me up so much. She says, "It's like a huge hole has been punched through my chest." Which, if you've ever been like majorly depressed, ooh, that was such good descriptive language, in my opinion. So we see Bella have her first nightmare. She is screaming, like curdling screams. Something that bothered me about the movies, they never really showed us any of her nightmares, which I wanted to see what was making her so upset. I guess maybe she was just dreaming about Edward and then realizing that he's gone. Like I said, the dream catcher that Jacob got Bella is doing jack diddly squat because she's still having tons of nightmares. Even more than before, actually. I actually think it caused more nightmares than it did good. Just saying. And she says something so sad as well. She says, "The pain is the only reminder that he was real." I haven't read the books in a while, so I don't know if Stephanie wrote these lines or if this is the screenwriter, but whoever wrote these lines, I think is conveying depression in such an interesting way, or like a breakup in such an interesting way. I really like the language. So we see that all of these emails that she has been sending to Alice are not even going through because Alice's email has been shut down. So that kind of is even more depressing because she's just talking into a void. Then Charlie pulls Bella aside and says that she needs to go to Jacksonville to be with her mother because Edward is not coming back, and you know, this is just not normal behavior. Being in Forks will just remind her of him. And he says that Bella is scaring the hell out of him. He says he doesn't want her to leave. And Bella's like, "I want to stay in Forks. I have my friends. I'm actually seeing Jessica tonight. We're gonna go watch a movie." So I don't even really understand how Bella and Jessica would be good friends. They don't seem like they have anything in common, but I reckon the reason that Bella even chose Jessica to go to the movies with is because Jessica's kind of so self-involved. She always talks about herself, which just never really keeps her mouth shut, that she probably wouldn't pry and ask a lot of questions about Bella like a caring friend would, like Angela. You know, she's there with Jessica, and Jessica says some choice words, like your depression thing. I get it. I'm totally worried. But after a while, it's like, you're still bumming? I'm going through stuff too, which I just like thought was so ridiculous. Like, oh my god, Anna Kendrick. And apparently she like ad-libbed a lot of these lines, so I love her. Any Anna Kendrick moments in the movie, I wish we had more. So Bella's in the same area where in the first movie in Twilight, she almost got assaulted by those men, and she notices that there are these men who she thinks are the same hanging out by a bunch of motorbikes, and she walks down there and sees her first apparition of Ghost Edward. And Bella gets a fright, and she's like, what is this? Now, this was never really explained. Like, is this Edward projecting out to Bella? Is this her imagining it? Like, does Edward actually have anything to do with this? I guess we'll never know. But this is basically the only way we get to see Edward throughout most of the movie. So then Bella gets on a stranger's motorbike because she's noticing that doing this reckless thing is, you know, getting Edward's attention. So fucking stupid. That man could have driven away with you and done God knows what, but you know what? She does it regardless. And Jessica feels the same way. She's all, what the hell is wrong with you? You're insane. Actually, like, suicidal. That homeboy could have been a psycho. And all Bella can say is, God, that was such a rush. And Jessica's like, awesome, so you're an adrenaline junkie now? You can go bungee jumping. You don't get on the back of some loser's motorcycle. Gosh. I love that Jessica scene. And then there's a voiceover of Bella saying, if a rush of danger is what it takes to see him, then that's what I'll find. So, Bella is putting herself in harm's way. She's majorly depressed. I feel like we're kind of touching on some very dark themes here, which is important because people experience this in real life. So cool. I'm not sure if they see ghosts of their ex-boyfriend, but you know what? Either way. So she shows up to Jacob's place and we get the famous line, Bella, where the hell have you been, loca? So she has some motorbikes in the back of her car that she wants to fix up with Jacob. And she's all like, those are really heavy, by the way, but he just lifts them up and puts them down, unhumanly so. And Bella's all, Jake, you're like so buff. How did that happen? You're like 16, I don't get it. And he's like, age is just a number, baby. What are you, like 40 now? And she's all, feels that way sometimes, which is so stupid because you're 18. It still blows my mind that like I'm 22 and she's 18. Like by the time Bella was 19, she had a fucking child and was married. I have 2 cats and 2 fish and I'm single as fuck. Anyway, so they're fixing the motorbikes and there's music playing, but Bella turns it off and says she doesn't really like music anymore, which is so stupid. Just because Edward likes music now, you don't like music because it reminds you of him. I don't even get how that makes sense. Like, how can he own music? It's like if you used to go to the movies with your boyfriend and you break up, what, are you just never gonna watch movies anymore? She drive in her truck in silence? She sure would be the type. So we get a montage of them fixing the bikes with a voiceover from Bella, one of her emails to Alice, and she said, Jake makes her feel better. He makes her feel alive. The hole in her chest when she's with Jake feels like it's almost healed for a while. And then Jacob's talking about one of his friends having a thing for her, and Bella says that she's not really into the whole cougar thing. Jacob says, what's up with you and age? Which is like so true because she goes on about it a lot. And he says, I mean, how old was that Cullen guy anyway? And then Bella just doesn't say anything and walks off, and the voiceover goes again and she says, but even Jake can't keep the dreams away. And then she's screaming in her bed again. And then we get a really cute scene with her and Charlie where he basically tells her that you gotta learn to love what's good for you, which is the start of Charlie being a team Jacob, which is like the only thing I don't like about Charlie. Look, I understand being Bella's father why he wouldn't like Edward. Like, they broke up in the first movie and she came back with a broken leg and a ton of blood loss and a scar from glass. And then we also have him breaking up with her and putting her in a deep depression in New Moon. And that's honestly just the start of it all. Like, I can understand why Charlie does not like Edward, but do you have to be Team Jacob? And then they're driving to go test out the bikes, and Jacob says, if I told you I couldn't have fixed these bikes, what would you have said? Maybe if I was smart, I would have dragged the rebuild out a bit. And then she says, if you told me you couldn't fix these bikes, then I would say it's really too bad, but we're just gonna have to find something else to do. Which is so cute. Then they're driving and they notice some people fighting at the edge of a cliff. Bella pulls over and Jacob just tells her that they're cliff diving. So keep this in mind for something that happens later in the movie. And then they're going to ride these motorbikes and Mr. Ghost Edward is there telling Bella to stop, and she fucking speeds off, and he's like, Edward is following her, but she keeps driving, and then she loses control of the motorbike and crashes, and Jacob runs to her safety and says, are you trying to get yourself killed? And she's all like, no, I want to go again, like with the blood pouring down her head. Like, she is so crazy. She doesn't even care that she just had a fucking motorbike accident. She really is on the deep end. Then she realizes that she's bleeding and says, oh my god, I'm sorry. Jacob points it out and says, why are you apologizing for bleeding? Which is so funny because, like, obviously she had to do that in the past. Then Jacob pulls off his shirt. We get our first Jacob's shirtless moment, for which there will be far too many in the series, and he uses his shirt to get rid of the blood on her head. But what's actually funny is he kind of just like smears it in. I don't understand what the point of him doing that was, but whatever. And then Bella is looking at him and says, you're sort of beautiful, which would have been the perfect in for Jacob to, like, I don't know, hit back on her or saying something, but instead he just says, how hard did you hit your head? Maybe because he just couldn't believe that she was saying that. So then Bella's in the cafeteria and she overhears her old friends talking about these bear attacks that have been happening. There's been little snippets in the movies talking about people getting attacked by some sort of animal, and she goes and sits down at the table and joins the conversation talking about her dad's point of view considering he's the chief. And then Mike takes a sliver of an opportunity to slide on in and say, Bella's back. And then he asks her on a date to the movie and she says, yeah, she'll go. And he says he wants to watch Love Spelled Backwards is Love. And she said, no romance. How about Face Punch? I love this fictional movie. And she's like, yeah, guns, adrenaline. It's kind of my thing. Oh, she really is not like other girls. And then this would have been heartbreaking for Mike. She's like, we should get a whole group of people to go. Do you guys want to go see Face Punch? And then they're all like, yeah. And it's so funny because Jessica's all like, movie night with Bella. Yay. Because like we all know what happened at their movie night. But then Eric and Angela bailed because they got sick and Jessica just didn't want to come. So it's pretty much just Mike, Jacob, and Bella, and they're there watching the movie. And for some odd reason, Jacob and Mike both have their arm and their hand on the armrest with their palm laying open, which is literally the only time you ever do that is when you want the person next to you to hold your hand. No one just sits like this. So Bella's looking at the hands, and then Mike's like, okay, I'm going to throw up. And then they leave the cinema and Bella and Jacob are talking and he grabs his hand and she pulls away and he says, can I not hold your hand? And she says, no, of course you can. I just think it means something different to you. And then Jacob says, well, you like me and you think I'm sort of beautiful. And she stops him there, says he's about to ruin everything because she needs him. And he says, I'm not gonna give up. Bella says she doesn't want him to give up because she doesn't want him to go anywhere, but that it makes her feel selfish because she knows she's not some car that you can fix up and that she's never gonna run right. He's honestly just so sad. And then Jacob says it's because of him, right? Meaning Edward. And he says that he would never do to Bella what Edward did to her, and that he promises he'll never hurt her and that she could always count on him, which we will discover to be a lie very soon. They have this cute moment where Bella nestles her head into Jacob's shoulder, but they're interrupted by Mike, which pisses Jacob off. And Jacob says that maybe Mike needs to go to a hospital. And does he want him to put him in the hospital? Which I just thought was so cringy. This is the point where we start getting Jacob's aggression because something is coming. And Bella goes to stop Jacob and she touches him and is like, Jacob, you're really hot. Which was like the opposite of Edward being cold, but I also just think it's funny that she uses the word hot instead of like warm. What I find funny is that after Jacob promising Bella that he wouldn't leave her and that she could always count on him, he leaves her. He ghosts her and she cannot get a hold of him. His dad is saying that he's sick at the house with mono, so Bella can't visit because she'll catch it. And then she gets fed up with it and just goes and drives to his place. And then we see Jacob in the rain, shirtless with his hair cut. Bella's pissed. She's like, I thought you were too sick to go outside or even answer when I call. And Jacob's all, go away. And Bella's trying to figure out what's wrong. She thinks it might have something to do with Sam. And Jacob's like, no, Sam's trying to help me. If you want someone to blame, you should blame that filthy bloodsucker of yours. Which is the first time in the series that Jacob's acknowledging his knowledge of the existence of vampires. And the first time he refers to them as bloodsuckers, which he does throughout the entire series, and it's so fucking annoying. Like, could you honestly not think of better insults? They fucking sparkle. There's so much gold right there. Bella denies and says she doesn't know what you're talking about, and Jacob says, Bella, you're lying to everyone. Charlie. And that's it. He just says Charlie. I thought he was gonna list off a bunch of people. And Jacob says he can't be friends with her anymore. Fucking hell, 2 men have dumped her in this movie. What is going on? Like, why is she having to go through this turmoil? But Bella just says that she knows she's been hurting him and that it's killing her. And that if he just gives her a bit of time, maybe she'll feel something for him. She doesn't use those exact words, but it's implied. And he says, it's not you. And she does the whole like, it's not you, it's me. Yeah, right. Because like, that's like the thing that people always say in movies. We can't be together, but not because of you. It's me. And it's like, fuck off. And then we get some cringy lines from Jacob. I used to be a good kid, but not anymore. This is over. And she says, you can't break up with me. I mean, you're my best friend. You promised me. He says, I promised I wouldn't hurt you, Bella. And then this is keeping that promise. What is with these men trying to protect her? You're protecting her physically, but you're leaving her in such a dark emotional place. Like, you're just fucking with her. And then tells him not to come back, otherwise she'll get hurt. So then she leaves, and she dreams about the meadow where her and Edward fell in love. And she goes hiking to find that meadow. And with a voiceover and an email to Alice, Bella is saying, without Jake, I just can't stand it. I don't see Edward anymore, but I feel like he never even existed. And the meadow is completely dead. And it's really sad for her, but who shows up other than Laurent? Laurent says that he didn't expect Bella here because he went to visit the Cullens and they're gone, and he's surprised that they left her behind. It's really creepy because he says like, aren't you something of a pet of theirs? And then he asks if the Cullens visit often, and she gets Ghost Edward back and he's telling her to lie. And she tries to stumble through her lies saying, yeah, they visit often. I'll tell Edward you stopped by, or maybe I shouldn't because he's very protective of me. She asks him about why he's there, and he says he's there as a favor to Victoria to see if she's still under the protection of the Cullens, because Victoria feels it's only fair that because Edward killed her mate, that she should kill his. Ghost Edward tells Bella to threaten him, and she says that Edward will come after Laurent. And Laurent's all like, I don't think he will. After all, how much could you mean to him if he left you here unprotected? I mean, Laurent's spitting some facts, Edward. You wanted to protect her, yet you left her defenseless with all of those vampires who you knew would come for revenge. Fucking idiot. And then Laurent gets all creepy saying, oh, Victoria won't be happy about me killing you, but I can't help myself. You are so mouthwatering. And then he quickly zooms up to her and says, don't be afraid. I'm doing you a kindness. Victoria plans to draw it out. I'll make it quick. He lifts his hands up in the air like this, which makes me think, I thought you said you were gonna do it quick. It looks like you're about to shoot her fucking head off her body, so you fucking liar. Why do all the men in this movie lie? But yeah, before Laurent can kill Bella, these giant wolves show up. And this is the first time seeing the wolves. If anyone craps on the CGI, I'm gonna be annoyed because this came out in 2009 and this CGI is fucking good. These are the best werewolves I've ever seen. So the wolves come in and there's this one wolf that seems to be looking at Bella quite long. I wonder who that could be. Bella runs home and tells Charlie that it's not bears that is killing everyone, it's wolves. And Bella thinks that Laurent would have killed those wolves and he would have told Victoria that she's unprotected. And every now and then in the movie, we get these like little glances at Victoria. Like there's just these shots that the director includes and they're very creepy. Oh! She scares me. Anywho, Jacob decides to rock up to Bella's house, does some parkour into her window. Like, what is with all the men jumping through her window? Charlie has no idea what's going on in his daughter's bedroom, and let me tell you, sex is not something you have to worry about. He's being all cryptic, saying, have you ever had a secret that you wish you could tell someone, but it wasn't yours to share? And then he looks at her arm and sees her bite mark from James, and this is actually our first time in the series seeing her scar. And then he asks Bella if she remembers the story he told her from when they were at La Push back in the first movie about the Quileute tribe. And Bella's like, yeah, about the cold ones. And he's all pissed, like, of course that's what you remember. But then we have a little twist that's very interesting. Bella says to Jacob, maybe we should just get out of here for a while, just you and me, let's leave. And Jacob's like, you would do that? And she's like, I would do that for you. So that's really interesting. I mean, I'm also thinking in her head, she's probably thinking like, I need to get away, so like Victoria and Laurent don't come to my house and kill me and my father. Like, let's just both leave for both of us. And Jacob says it's not something he can run away from, but he would run away with her if he could. And then they hug. Honestly, it's really cute. At this point, I like Jacob. Like, I like their friendship. It's only when he starts coming onto her so hard that it pisses me off. But if they could have just stayed best friends, it would have been so great, because it could have proven that a straight girl and a straight boy can be friends without having some sort of romantic involvement. But no, Stephanie decided not to go in that direction and give us a love triangle. So after Jacob jumps out of Bella's window, because that's a totally normal thing to do, Bella remembers what Jacob told her about the Quileutes descending from wolves. So she rushes over to his house, but Jacob's sleeping, and she hears the other Quileutes outside and runs outside, demanding to know what they did to him. And she's getting all up in their girl, which I think is ridiculous because these men are so much bigger than you, Bella, and there's 4 of them and 1 of you. She's all like, he didn't want this. He tells me nothing because he's scared of you. And they all laugh at her, so she proceeds to hit Paul in the face, and he gets really freaking pissed off and turns into a motherfucking werewolf. And Bella runs, and then Jacob comes out running, and she's like, Jacob, run! She still doesn't put 2 and 2 together that he's a motherfucking wolf too. But no, Jacob jumps over Bella, turns into a wolf, and him and Paul start fighting. And one of them, I don't know who, says, I guess the wolf's out the bag, which is, kind of funny. And then another voiceover from Bella to Alice saying, is it possible that everything is true? The fairy tales and horror stories. I want to know, why is it that in most vampire movies or shows, there always has to be werewolves? I just don't care for werewolves. Anyway, so they're going to Sam and Emily's place, and one of them tells Bella to not stare because it bugs Sam. But then we see that Sam's partner, Emily, has a giant scar. She's dating a werewolf. I wonder where that came from. Maybe they don't have a good temper, considering one of them just got hit in the face and turned into one. But Emily's all like, so you're the vampire girl, and Bella's all like, so you're the wolf girl, which I thought that was funny. Low-key, why am I enjoying this? I think I kind of don't hate New Moon. So then I can never remember these guys' names. I think it's Emery and Quill. One of them's telling Bella about the wolves, saying that Alpha's orders have to get obeyed whether you like it or not. So that's Sam, as at the moment, is the Alpha, and they also tell her that they can hear each other's thoughts when they're in like wolf form. And then the other one's like, this chick runs with vampires. Why are you telling her all of our secrets? And she's all like, you can't run with vampires because they're fast. And he's like, we're faster. Oh, we got a bit of rivalry going on here. So then Jacob and Bella have their little wolf Q&A, and Jacob tells us that a few members of the tribe have the gene, and that if a bloodsucker moves into town, then the fever sets in. And Bella's confused, and she just says that it's wrong, and Jacob says, it's not a lifestyle choice, Bella. I was born this way, I can't help it. And he calls her a hypocrite and says, what, am I not the right monster for you? And she says, it's not what you are, it's what you do. They never hurt anybody. Which is stupid, because like, yes, the Cullens don't hurt people, but did you forget about James who tried to kill you? Like, vampires probably hurt a lot more people than werewolves. I'll give the werewolves that. And she says, you've killed people, Jake. Which, how the fuck does she know if he's killed people? I don't know where that came from. That was so stupid, but whatever. And he says, we're trying to protect people. The only thing we do kill is vampires. But he says that they're not allowed to touch the Cullens because of their treaties. And Bella's all like, you can't kill vampires, Jake. They'll kill you. I think because she's only been with vampires, she just thinks that they're so strong and powerful and nothing could compete with them. But now she's having to understand the strength of the wolves. And Jacob dispels that myth by telling her that they actually killed the one with the dreadlocks, meaning Laurent. And then he talks about Victoria, saying she keeps coming back and they don't know what she's after, and Bella says it's her. So then Jacob tells Bella that they'll protect her, they have their house covered, and Bella's saying to Alice again in the voiceover that she's fine until she's alone. And lately that's all the time because Jacob's out hunting Victoria and Charlie's hunting Jacob, and you're gone, and so is Edward. And then we get probably my favorite scene in the movie. I love this scene. So Victoria is jumping around in the trees, and Charlie and a bunch of other people are down there looking for, you know, hints of an animal. Harry Clearwater sees a wolf print and covers it up because obviously he doesn't want Charlie to find out about the wolves. And Harry sees Victoria in the trees and points his gun at her, but she jumps down and lifts him up by the throat, but is stopped from killing him by the wolves. But it does not really do much because Harry, at his old age, ends up having a heart attack. And we get a chase scene with Victoria and the wolves, and she ends up jumping off of a cliff into the ocean. And the werewolves don't go after her, so like maybe they can't swim. And while this is all happening, Bella is hiking up to the cliff, standing in front of the cliff like she's about to jump, and Ghost Edward tells her not to do it, and she's all, "You wanted me to be human, watch me." So now we're getting suicide attempts. Bella, I don't care what anybody says, cliff jumping off of a cliff like that, with like all of those sharp edges, and like also when your body hits water from such a significant height, also like how is she gonna get out of there? Also there's a storm brewing, so the waves are really intense. It's a suicide mission. And every time Bella comes up out of the ocean, another wave comes and takes her down, and while she's underwater, she sees a red head coming towards her and Victoria. She starts freaking out and swimming back and hits her head against the cliff. And she passes out and is like basically starting to drown. And we get this really interesting scene with Ghost Edward next to her, and she's like kind of looking at him, and really depressing. It's really sad. Like, I just wonder what she felt in that moment. Like, it would have been very scary. She probably thought like, I'm gonna die, but I don't even think she would have been scared of it. I feel like she might even feel okay with that because her whole life revolves around Edward and now he's gone. It's very sad, but it's fine. She doesn't die. She ends up getting saved by Jake, and we get this really creepy shot of Victoria looking up out of the ocean, and God, the OG Victoria scares me. And that's actually the last time we see her in the movie, which I'm so sad. She doesn't even say anything this whole movie, but her presence was significant. So then Bella is cuddling all up to Jacob, saying it must be so nice never getting cold, and he's all like, it's a wolf thing, and she's all like, oh, it's a Jacob thing, which we're kind of flirting with him there, Bella. And he tells her what actually happened to Emily's face, saying that Sam got angry for a split second and was standing too close to Emily and then ended up, you know, scarring her face. So he's expressing his concern for himself because obviously this is Jacob first becoming a wolf, and he's scared about who he's going to be and what he's going to become. And he says he feels like he's going to disappear, but Bella tells him that he's not going to lose himself because she won't let him. She'll always be there to remind him of how special he is. Which, look, I'm not Team Jacob, but this moment is so cute. And Jacob goes in for a kiss, and like, I hate to admit it, but a small part of me kind of wanted it to happen because Bella seemed into it, but then at the last second, she ended up just like going into his shoulder and saying, thank you for everything. So lo and behold, they did not get their kiss. And Jacob smells something and says that there's a vampire. Bella looks outside and sees Carlisle's car, and she freaks out because she thinks one of the Cullens is here. Maybe it's Edward. She goes to go inside, and Jacob tells her not to because it could be a trick, and she says they won't hurt me. But Jacob says if a Cullen's here, then it's their territory and he cannot defend her on their land. Bella's like, it's okay, I'm fine. And Jacob says, you're about to cross a line, and she says, well then don't draw one. And then she goes inside and she sees Alice. Ugh. Bella's freaking out because she's like, I can't believe you're here. Alice is freaking out because she's like, I can't believe you're alive. Alice says she saw Bella jumping off of a cliff and asks, why the hell would you try and kill yourself? Bella's like, I wasn't trying to kill myself. I was just cliff jumping recreationally. Imagine like someone's like, what are your hobbies? And you're like, oh, I just love jumping off of cliffs. I would be like, something is wrong with you. And then they're having a cute little moment sitting on the couch, and Bella asks if she told Edward, and Alice says he only calls every few months. He says he wants to be alone. Ugh, brooding much. And then Alice gets a whiff of something and says, what is that god-awful wet dog smell? And Bella's like, oh, it's me. I've been with Jacob. He's kind of a werewolf. And then Alice was like, Bella, werewolves are not good company to keep. I'm sorry, Alice. I'm gonna have to disagree. Because look what's happened to Bella hanging out with vampires. She got her leg broken, almost had all the blood drained out of her body, rolled through glass, and been sent into a severe depression that caused her to cliff jump. Watch yourself. I will defend wolves when it is necessary. So far, they've done nothing bad to her. They've saved her from Laurent. And then Jacob comes in and says, speak for yourself. And Bella's like, I thought you couldn't protect me here. And he says, guess I don't care. So he broke the treaty for her. Oh, no. Why am I veering off into Team Jacob? What's happening here? And Alice is like, well, I'm not gonna hurt her. And Jacob's like, I'm talking about the other bloodsucker who tried to kill Bella because of you. And Alice realized that he was talking about Victoria and said, I didn't see her coming. I didn't see you getting pulled out of the water. I can't see past your pack of mutts. So yeah, actually Alice's future viewing abilities gets distorted when the wolves are around. I don't really understand why, but it's a thing. And then it's really funny because Jacob says, don't get me upset or things are gonna get very ugly here. He tries so hard to be a tough guy throughout this movie and it cringes me out. So Alice goes to leave and Bella says, you're not going anywhere, right? You'll be back. And Alice says, as soon as you put the dog out, which I think is so funny. So then it's just Bella and Jacob. She tells him that he better go running back to Sam and they don't have to do this to each other. And he says, yes, we do. And he goes in for a kiss and they're just about to kiss But then the phone rings. They literally were this close from their lips touching. And then Jacob's on the phone. He's all like, Swan residence. He's not here at the moment. He's out planning a funeral. And we get a shot of Edward on the phone and he crushes the phone because now he thinks Bella is dead. So then Jacob is like, oh, always in the way. And Bella asks, who is that? And Alice comes in and says, it's Edward. He thinks you're dead. And Bella realizes that it was Edward on the phone and is pissed at Jacob saying, why didn't you let me speak to him? And Jacob says, he didn't ask for you. And Bella's all like, I don't care. Literally, Jacob is the reason that Edward tried to kill himself, because if it wasn't for him saying that on the phone, then Edward wouldn't have done it. So Jacob, fuck you. And Alice tells Bella that he's going to the Volturi because he wants to die. Isn't it kind of annoying that as a vampire, you have to get someone else to kill you? You really can't kill yourself. That must be so irritating. Because like after a certain point, like say you've lived like, I don't know, 500 years, what happens if you're just over it and you want to die? I guess you could start a fire and then like walk into it. Why am I even talking about this? So Jacob and Bella are arguing. He's telling Bella that Edward left her and that he didn't want to be with her anymore. And Bella says, I'm not going to let him die out of guilt. And he's all like, what about Charlie? I feel like they always use that as a thing. Like, what about Charlie? And she says, I'm 18. I'm free to go when I left tonight. So Jacob asks Bella to stay. He quite literally says he's begging her. And Bella says, I have to go. And they leave. And Alice and Bella jet set to Italy. Because then we got Alice in a yellow Porsche driving with Bella through Italy. And it cuts between Edward walking towards the Volturi. And Arrow says to Edward that because of his particular gifts, he's too valuable to destroy. That if he's unhappy with his lot, then he can join them. But Edward's all like, nah, bitch, I want to die. And they're all like, oh, well, not without cause. And Arrow's all like, oh, what a waste. So then Edward goes to reveal himself. He wants to show his sparkly skin. And then we cut back to Bella and Alice, and Bella's all like, oh, I'm guessing you didn't rent this car. And Alice is all like, I figured you wouldn't be opposed to Grand Theft Auto. Which I think is so funny. Imagine little cute Alice stealing a car. And of course she had to steal the most gaudy car ever. And then Alice gets another vision, seeing that the Volturi refused him, and then he's going to make a scene and show himself to the humans. He's going to wait until noon when the sun is at its highest. Then they get to this little city center, and there's a ton of crowds everywhere for St. Margaret's Day. They're all dressed in red. And apparently this festival is the commemoration of the expulsion of vampires from the city. And Alice says it's the perfect setting because the Volturi will never let him get far enough to reveal himself. And she tells Bella they have 5 minutes, and Bella is losing her shit. They can no longer drive more because there's just like too many people, and Bella gestures for Alice to come with her, and Alice says she can't come with because he'll read her thoughts and think that she's lying, and he'll just do it quicker. So then we get that amazing scene of Bella like running through all these people, pushing through them, scaling through the crowd. She runs through the fountain. It's honestly such an amazing scene. I love it. And that cuts between Edward coming out, unbuttoning his shirt, standing there, and he looks rough. And we don't get a lot of shirtless Edward scenes, so this is like kind of a moment. And he's standing there sparkling, but before he can fully reveal himself, Bella jumps onto him, and Edward thinks that he's in heaven. Bella's all like, open your eyes, look at me, I'm alive. And Edward's all happy all of a sudden, so happy that she's alive. And she says, I just needed to make you see me once. You had to know I was alive, and that you didn't have to feel guilty about anything. And she says, I can let you go now. Oh! So sad. But he tells her that he never acted out of guilt. He just couldn't live in a world where she didn't exist. And she's all confused, but he says, I had to lie, but you believed me so easily. And she says, I'm sorry, because it doesn't make sense that you love me. I'm nothing. Human, nothing. Which is so depressing. It really upsets me that Bella thinks so little of herself. And he's all, you're everything to me. And then they have a really beautiful kiss, which is so good considering they've been apart for months. At approximately 50 minutes in the movie, which is 50 minutes too long. And he tells the Volturi guards that they won't be needing their service after all. They're all like, Ara wants to see you. He's like, okay, Bella, go to the festival. They're like, you know, the girl comes with us. And he's like, no, you can go to hell. And they're about to have a fight, but then Alice breaks the door and comes in a headscarf. Oh, I love this queen. And she's all, come on guys, it's a festival. You wouldn't want to make a scene. And then we meet Jane, who says, Ara sent me to see what's taking so long. And we get that iconic elevator ride of all of them just in the elevator with like the little Italian music. It's so awkward and so funny, and I'm so glad that they included it in the... So they go into that big room or whatever, and Ara's all, Bella is alive. I love a happy ending. And he makes a comment about her blood, saying that it appeals to Edward so much. And I actually recently found out that in the books, they have this thing called a singer, where it's basically a human whose blood severely attracts a vampire, and Bella is Edward's singer. And yeah, one of you actually told me in the last video this, and you also told me that Alice used to be James's singer, which is so interesting. He's just talking about how thirsty Bella's blood makes him. How can Edward stand to be so close to her? And he says it's not without difficulty. And then he goes to touch Edward, and Edward informs Bella that Arrow can see every thought you've ever had with one touch. And Arrow touches on the fact that Edward can't read Bella's thoughts, and then Arrow tries his power on Bella and can't see anything either, so he wants to see if she's immune to all of their powers, and says says, "Shall we, Jane?" And Jane goes to inflict pain on Bella, but before she can, Edward runs forward and she inflicts it on Edward, and we get Rob seething in pain. She moves her power towards Bella and it doesn't affect her at all, which amazes Ara, and he starts bursting out with laughter like the evil villain he is. And then we get Caius, who's like the worst Volturi member ever. He's so fucking annoying. He says, "She knows too much. She's a liability." So basically they want to kill Bella and Edward. But Edward goes to fight Felix, who's kind of like the bronze of the Volturi, and they're having this really epic battle. He's holding Edward by the throat, cracking open his skin against concrete, and Bella has kind of her big moment where she's like, "No, no, please, please, kill me, which I love this. You know, it's cringy, but amazing, and I love Kristen Stewart's I Don't Care. I love it. It's so good. And Ara's amazed, saying, "You would give up your life for someone like us? A soulless monster?" And she says, "You don't know a thing about his soul." Why is the soul such a big theme of this movie? I wish I could understand it more. I'm trying to understand it in the sense where I think it's basically just encompassing who you are, so you can have a bad soul or a good soul, and he happens to have a good one because he's a good person or whatever. So a soul must just be like your entity, your aura, that sort of vibe. Ara says to Edward, "If only your intention were to give her immortality." And Alice says that Bella will be one of them and that she's seen it. And she says she'll change her herself. And we get a little like future shot of Edward and Bella running through the forest. What I want to know is, why did the costume director decide to put them in these clothes? Like, did we travel back in time? Like, why do they look so fucking ancient? They literally look like they just escaped an Amish village. Ara says to Bella that her gifts will be intriguing as an immortal, and tells Edward that they need to make their preparations, but Kai says, "I advise that you follow with your promises soon. We do not offer second chances." And then they leave the Volturi, but not after a crowd of people walk by and Billy hears their screams. The Volturi had a big lunch. So she wakes up in her bed and Edward tells her to go to sleep. He'll still be there when she wakes up, and says that the only reason he left was because he thought he was protecting her. How can you be protecting her when you left her defenseless? He said he just wanted her to have a chance at a normal, happy human life. I'm sorry, but her life was not going to be normal after everything you've put her through. But she says it was just too easy for him to leave, and he says leaving her was the hardest thing he's done in 100 years. But then he quickly leaves when he hears Charlie coming up the stairs, and Charlie and Bella have this moment where Bella says she's fine, and he says, "That's what you said before you took off and left for 3 days." And she tells him she's really sorry, and he's really upset and says, "Don't ever do that to me again." Bella is really putting Charlie through the ringer. Like, she left him in Twilight, and she left him in New Moon, and she had that big depressive thing that was like obviously going to be hard on him as well. Like, she putting him through it. Dad of the year here. Edward's back and says Charlie's not going to forgive him easily, but can Bella? He says he honestly doesn't know how he can live without her, which is interesting considering you just did. You left her, and now you were like, "Oh, I don't want to be without you." It's like, make up your mind. We're having the same whiplash that we had back in Twilight. Bella says, "Once Alice changes me, you won't be able to get rid of me." Edward says she won't need to change you. There are always ways to keep the Volturi in the dark. And Bella's like, "No." So then Bella goes to the Cullens' house so that they can vote about whether or not she should become a vampire. And Edward's all like reluctant to do it. She tells him to shut up. And then they start voting. Alice says she already considers Bella her sister, so it's a yes. Emma gives her a big hug and says yes. Jasper says yes because it would be nice to not want to kill her all the time. Esme says she already considers her part of the family. And then we get Rosalie, who says she's grateful for Bella saving Edward, but she tells Bella this wasn't a life she would have chosen for herself, and that she wishes there would have been someone to vote no for her. And Carla says that Edward's chosen to live a life with Bella, so that leaves them no choice because he won't lose his son over it. And then we get a voiceover from Bella saying the decision was decided, but she'll wait till after graduation. And they're driving down the road and they get stopped by Jacob in the middle of the road, and they go to talk to him. Edward says, "Thanks for keeping Bella alive, but I'm here now and I'm not going to leave her side." Jacob tells Edward he's there to remind him about a key point in the treaty, that if any of them bites a human, the truce is over. And Bella says, "What if I choose it? It has nothing to do with you." And Jacob says, "You're not going to be one of them, Bella." But then Bella goes to calm him down and says that she loves him, but he shouldn't make her choose, because it'll be him. It's always been Edward. Shot to the heart, cause you're too late. And then Edward tells Bella they need to go, and Jacob's like, "You don't speak for her." And then Jacob turns into a wolf. They're gonna fight. But Bella gets in the middle of them and says, "You can't hurt each other without hurting me." Jacob runs off, and Edward says he has one condition before turning Bella, and that's that she marries him. Bella gasps, and that's the end of the movie. Yeah, so that was Twilight Saga New Moon. I go back and forth about how I feel about this movie. I obviously hate the fact that Edward's barely in it, but then I also really like Bella and Jacob's friendship before he starts to get romantic about it. It's a lot worse in Eclipse. It was really interesting seeing the depiction of depression in this movie. I feel like we don't often see realistic depictions of that. I really liked all the scenes with Victoria. I love the Italy scene. I don't think I hate New Moon as much as I thought I did. And overall, I did enjoy it. So yeah, let me know what you guys think about New Moon in the comments down below. I'm excited to get onto Eclipse. Give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. And if you've not already, please make sure you subscribe and turn on the post notifications bell so that you never miss another upload from me. And of course, tell me if you're Team Edward or Team Jacob. And as always, my social media is linked down below, as well as my second channel, merch, podcast, and Cameo. And without further ado, that's it for me in this video, guys. I hope to see my next one, and as always, I hope that you have a great day or night wherever you're on the world. Bye!